Look at that. Everything's back to normal now. So here we go. So how about that for getting that fixed? Actually, that's probably one of the better examples of me fixing something in a very short period of time because usually I'm pretty shitty at that kind of stuff. But anyway, so yeah, back to what we're actually talking about here. It's Monday. It's kind of bored, and I was like, kind of wanted to, or I had a hectic day, and after the hectic day, I was kind of like, kind of wanted to hang out, drink a couple beers. I figured I'd go live. I put out the feelers. Yes, I am Brandon Bond. I am back in a normal ratio, in a normal aspect ratio. Hopefully, it looks correct on my end. Let's put it that way. So, hopefully, it looks correct on your end, and then we'll see what's what. Let's see. Anyway, oh man, that does not look good. I think I got boned by beer delivery service today. Yeah, I got boned. So I'm drinking something Spellbound Brewing from Jersey, and good, nice brewery actually. And I ordered this, and I was like, okay, here we go. I'm like, I'll order this. I haven't had it in a while. I am no longer tall and skinny. Actually, I have never been tall and skinny, so get that right. But yeah, I got boned on this because this is kind of like one of the like the risks you run with the whole kind of social distancing and all that kind of stuff when it comes to beer and stuff like that. You have that added bonus making lemonade out of lemons thing where you can get beer kind of cherry picked or curbside delivery or sent to your house. I picked this out of the website and I'm like, oh man, I hope it's not old. And this was ended up being a 6-pack of a pale ale that was from October of last year. Now, I'm not a date Nazi. I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody, oh man, give me a nice, well, Bill Box in the chat here. Let's say called a Treehouse or a Hill Farmstead. Hill Farmstead, you give me a Hill Farmstead hazy that's 2-3 months old. I'm cool with it. It is probably still good if you took care of it. But, yeah, I knew if this is old-ish, probably wouldn't hold up. So, it's not bad. It's just a little oxidized, as you can see. Stuff like that. So, let's go to the chat, actually. A bunch of people jumping on, which is, I rarely do Mondays, so it's kind of cool. Brandon saying I'm back. Bellbox saying cheers. DH, it's better. We already went over Ashley saying, hey, you're not no longer tall and skinny. The reason why I was tall and skinny, actually, Ashley, for those people out there, is that I think I've figured out a way to multicast both to YouTube and to Instagram. So I was messing with the Instagram format. For those that don't really mess with like kind of streaming apps and all that kind of stuff, you really can't live stream to Instagram unless you're using your phone, like actual the Instagram app. But there's a new way you can kind of do that. So I was fiddling with that. So that's why I ended up being tall and skinny, because I had the output of my streaming program set to that. Not 920 by 1080. It was 1080 by 920. Anyway, Jacob Barnum, right? Good evening. And James Moore said pubs closed here in Ireland, missing a proper pint of Guinness. A lot. I mean, man, tell me about it. I'm missing work, and I like my job, but I also like my freedom. But I would love to be able to go to work right now, even though I can work from home and do all that kind of stuff. So I'm one of the lucky ones when it comes to these things. Man, what would I give to be able to go to work? So that has to let you know what it's like for me not to be able to go out. Like, pretty much my weekends have been centered around, one day of the weekend I go to a brewery. I kind of pop around, have some fun, do all that kind of stuff. Just not being able to do that is kind of a weird concept. Not necessarily a negative one, because I'm spending a lot more time with my wife and my dog and stuff like that, and I'm doing that every day. So I'm not sitting here complaining about it. But just to go to a brewery, grab my wife or grab my dogs and go sit at a brewery in the sun, a nice day, and try a couple beers, that kind of freedom, that kind of life, it's sorely missed. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what's what. We have Ashley chiming back in saying, I had a similar experience with my local brewery, but it was just a Schwartz and a cream ale. 4 months is no big deal. Whoop on no styles. And that's the thing. And here's the thing, though. The big difference between those two is that your local brewery gave you months old cream ale and Schwartz beer. I'm not going to sit here and say that those beers can't hold up over time, but the brewery gave you those. Even 6 months, you said it was 6 months. But this is not them. This is actually a retail outlet. So I would poop on a brewery much, much more because they'd be like, how the fuck are you giving out old beer? Whereas the bottle shop, here in the United States, we don't have state-run bottle shops, so they're not as strict when it comes to dating. Actually, I don't even think they're in Canada because I think you guys get old beer all the time. But they don't care as much. So it's kind of a gamble on my part. Now, I'm spending $9 on a 6-pack of a pale ale. I didn't hit on it. Okay, I'll live with it. It'll be okay. My life will not stop revolving. It's just kind of a bummer because I wanted some crispy, fresh kind of pale ales. So it is what it is. Stuart Caro. I was going to say Krakow. I was going to love that name. Says, having a new release of Boulevard's Rye & Rye Templeton Barrel Aged Strong Ale. Okay. 30% ABV and 16 IBUs with maple syrup and a first, which is a first, as a strong ale with maple syrup. Bottled last month. I'll sit on a 4-pack of this. It's a bargain, too. I mean, Boulevard, honestly, is probably up there with Lagunitas as one of the best bang for the bucks quality beer breweries that you're ever going to get anything from. I mean, the willetized beers that you get, from Lagunitas, willetized, the barrel aged stuff, all that stuff, even their base beers, their price point to quality is amazing. And Boulevard's much the same because I have not had that. I've had Rye and Rye several times, but never the old ale maple syrup version that you're having. But a bunch of different versions, and those 750s used to be like $12, and they switched to the 4-pack bottles, and you're still coming in at a $16 price point. So you're talking about $16 for 4 12-ounce bottles of barrel-aged beer. That's insane if it's good. And the thing is, more times than not, it's good. I've had my fair share of misses when it comes to Boulevard, but I've had a really good track record with hits too, and their Plaid Habit is probably one of my favorite kind of, barrel-aged, easy-to-get beers. I can go to my local bottle shop that carries nothing, and they have that on the shelf. Now, granted, they only sell them in singles, but they're still only like $4.50, $5 for a single. All day with that. Stuart chimes in again. He's like, first on chat with you, but is a big fan of big fan for years of your reviews. Thank you very much, dude. Locally, we have been doing curbside pickup at Strange Roots, a Brew Gentleman, Cinderlands, and Roundabout. Yeah, I mean, so Stuart, for those who don't know, he lives in the Pittsburgh area. Strange Roots, one of my favorite breweries of all time. If you go search my reviews, you can search Strange Roots. There are going to be 1, maybe 2 beers on there. Type in Dry Log, DRAAI, and then LAAG. Sorry. That was their original name before they changed it. Really fun, kooky beers. And I mean, when he's talking about, Brew Gentleman, which is, they've won many awards as far as like a new school hazy producer. So people really dig their stuff. Cinderlands, I've heard good things about. I've had some of the beers, but not enough to form an opinion. I've never had anything Roundabout. And out that way, they have a bunch of great other breweries too. You have Dancing Gnome, a lot of people are a big fan of. You have Grist House, which makes really good beer. So a lot of options out Pittsburgh way. I'm kind of envious of you out there. So what's going on, dude? Thank you very much for tuning in for the reviews for so long. That's pretty cool. And you mentioned that the maple in that Boulevard isn't overbearing either, and I kind of really appreciate that. If you actually go back to Sunday, and by Sunday I mean Saturday. I reviewed a Equilibrium Imperial Stout, coffee stout with maple syrup, and lactose, and it was very light-handed on both of those aspects of the beer, and I was very appreciative of the light-handedness when it came to that. So, yeah, Let's see, pop it around here. Sorry, and I like it when they don't go ape shit crazy with the maple syrup. I think it ends up being more of a secondary or third note as opposed to being the leading thing in a beer. And I think it's a less is more approach, and I appreciate it much more than just maple syrup to your face. I can appreciate maple syrup to my face every now and then, but you know what I mean. Let's see, Caleb chiming in, saying, hey, Matt, Mass Landing released their Imperial Gunners Aged in Bourbon. It is phenomenal. Way to fucking fuck with me, Caleb, man. God damn it. Beers I can't have. Make me all hot and bothered inside. Stuart saying, loved it. Love when you did the visit review at Drylog. Honestly, Drylog is probably, and honestly, I feel kind of guilty because I haven't been back and I don't drink much of their beers anymore just because I don't live in Pennsylvania anymore, but they're one of my favorite breweries of all time, especially at least in the States. I mean, Dennis is a miracle worker when it comes to yeast and what he does, and just a very awesome, down-to-earth guy. So, I've visited Drylog twice in my life and real life, and I can't wait to go back. I haven't been in a new spot either. That's how long it's been. But yeah, awesome, great brewery, and the stuff that they do is fun. Good, delicious, but fun to say the least, and fun kind of turns me on more often than not. DH coming in, what are your favorite New York State breweries? Holy shit. What time is it? How much time do you have? There's a ton of great breweries, man, in New York State. Like, New York State is quickly becoming, like, creepily awesome when it comes to beer. Not that they weren't good, but you have to understand, like, up until, like, 6-7 years ago, there was literally almost no beer at all in the city area of New York. So, when it comes to, like, beer in general, New York breweries, I'll kind of work my way around the state, I guess, is probably be the easiest way because there's that many good breweries. Other half's fantastic. There's no way you can say they're not. If you don't like hazy, that's fine, but they actually do some fun stuff on the wild and the spectrum. They've been doing a lot of lagering, clean beer, stuff like that. So other half's fantastic. Now, if you're sticking strictly in the city, there's so many great options out there in general. Folks beer is right around the corner from other half. They make a lot of low ABV, clean lager beers. They're fantastic. KCBC is awesome. Finback is fantastic. In that area of Brooklyn, there's so many great breweries. One that doesn't get enough play for me is Transmitter Brewing. They're a Belgian yeast forward brewery. They do absolutely fantastic things. And I could keep rattling off breweries in that area. And I'm probably forgetting one I love, to be perfectly honest with you, but there's great ones. If you go out into Long Island, you start to eke out there and get the Barrier and a couple other breweries out that way. Once you start eking out of the city and start working your way up to Hudson, that's when things get a little bit more diverse. First, when you start eking your way up to Hudson, you're just going to start hitting places like Equilibrium or Rushing Duck. Rushing Duck, hands down, one of my favorite breweries in the whole state. They run the gamut of a bunch of different styles. You can get Pilsner, a Kolsch, a Belgian Dark, a barrel-aged. Their barrel-aged program is one of the best barrel-aged programs, in my humble opinion, in the country, not just in the state. So they have a great barrel-aging program at Rushing Duck, and they run a gamut of beers. Then like I said, you have Equilibrium out there. You have Hudson Valley Brewing, Newburgh Brewing, which is, they're basically right across from each other, right across from the Hudson River. Hudson Valley Brewing, their sour IPA, that kind of stuff is quite nice, but their slow ABV traditional sour stuff is probably their best stuff. Across the river, their Newburgh Brown Ale, I will drink that all day, every day, and I will fight you about it if you don't like it. Technically, even in that area now, you have Industrial Arts. They're pumping beer out. They're not necessarily open. But if you start working your way up the Hudson a little further, you have Industrial Arts. You have Plan B Brewing and Suarez. That's kind of like that's, if you live in that area, the Kingston area of New York, and you have your option, where am I going to go today? I go to Suarez Brewing. Oh, no, I'll go to Plan B. Oh, no, I'll go to Sloop. I didn't even mention them. Oh, no, I'll go to Industrial Arts. Oh, no, I'll go to Hudson Valley. I'll go to Newburgh. I'll go to Equilibrium. I'll go to Rushing Duck. You're kind of in the middle of a very fantastic area when it comes to beer. Once you start moving out west, you have the north, which is Endicott, New York, which is by Binghamton. They do really fun stuff along with Beer Tree. They do a lot of newer stylish stuff. I know the north actually does some old weird traditional stuff, but for the most part, you get a lot of hazies, you get a lot of pastry stouts out of both of those places. And then if you start moving up and around the New York State area. You have Prison City Brewing, which is eking up towards Syracuse. Start working your way west. You have other half Rochester. You have Mortalis, who is just absolutely crushing it on the pastry stout front, on the kind of fruit smoothie kind of front, those kind of things in New York State, along with a lot of other beers, barley wine, stuff like that. Out that way, Rochester alone has a crazy amount of breweries in it that are worth visiting. South of there, you have Upstate Brewing, Farmhouse Brewing, which I think is underrated. They do a lot of farm-based beers, things like that. And then just eking your way over to the kind of Buffalo area, then you're starting to talk about, Big Ditch, and you're talking, I was going to say Revolution, Resurgence Brewing, and Thin Man Brewing, and all these great breweries that are doing so many good things in and around the area. It's absolutely, New York is crazy. I mean, it's a big state, so that helps a lot, but it's not so much that their breweries aren't fantastic, and there's great old ones too. You have Saranac Brewing, you have Ithaca Brewing. You have a bunch of old heads out there. What's the other one? Oh, God, I'm going to miss a bunch of them, and I apologize if I don't mention them. But there's a lot of old school breweries out there. But if you look at the new school kind of sect, you look at that new school kind of brewery, the born on date for a lot of breweries in New York are over the past 6 years. Whereas in a place like Pennsylvania, where I lived, there's a lot of new school breweries that are great, but there's a lot of really old breweries that have been around a really long time. Sadly enough, some of them are going by the way of the dodo, like Stouts Brewing and Full Pint Brewing, I think, is closing. And there's some that are really kind of going downhill, and that might be more often than not, especially with what we're going on with the climate and coronavirus and things like that. But New York is up there. I mean, it's honestly, like, when people have that kind of that conversation, that desert state conversation. By desert state conversation, I mean, if you could pick one state and that's the only state you'd want to drink beers in, I don't know if I would pick New York, but I don't know if I wouldn't. I mean, Vermont's the easy one. Vermont, Maine, Oregon, California. Just from the amount of breweries they have in California, that's an easy one. But New York is slowly and respectively and duly pushing themselves into that conversation. Yeah, that's a good one. I like questions like that. I could talk for fucking 5 more hours about New York breweries. Let's see, what do we have here? James Patton actually chimes in and says, "Hey, Matt, what's a good website to order craft beer?" Depends on where you live. That's a big one. Because some breweries will, especially now with what's going on now, a lot of breweries will ship directly to your household. But that's also depends on, where you live and what's what. Jersey is kind of one of the worst places to live in when you want to order beer. Sure, we have a lot of breweries that'll deliver to your house. Well, bottle shops, some will deliver to your house. Some you actually have to go in and get a curbside pickup. But as far as shipping into the state of New Jersey, there's some places you can work it. But for the most part, no brewery that I know of, that I can think of, will ship to a place in New Jersey. But it's weird. I mean, Tavour is something that a lot of people use when it comes to beer reviews and doing all that kind of stuff. That business model is something that doesn't appeal to me. Me personally, I was actually going to do a story on Tavour. Just for because everybody's buying beer and shipping stuff and doing that whole kind of thing. I decided against it only because their business model. I'm messing with my volume right now, so if my volume's weird, I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. Anyway, so if I was going to do a story on Tavour, but the way Tavour's kind of business model kind of works is that they kind of, and I didn't know this when I actually was going to do a story on it. I thought they had a whole bunch of beer you could pick out online. And then you would just build a box full of the beer they have available, and then they would put more beer available, and then you'd put a bunch in your box, your virtual box, and then eventually you get to the point where you have enough beer, and then you tell them to ship it. They have like a flat rate shipping thing. That's probably one of the more popular ones that you'd actually order from. I found out that it's like only like a couple beers a day, and you got to build a box over time. Like, I don't want to do that shit. I just kind of want it faster. So that doesn't work for me. There's a lot of places outside of the country that'll ship. They don't give a fuck. So you talk about Belgium in a box and a bunch of places like that. They'll send you stuff, but that's, if you're into, Cantillon and Trefontaine and all those kind of breweries, that's what you're going to get if you order from them, and ends up being a couple bucks. I know a lot of the bottle shops in the United States have Total Wine. A bunch of places will ship directly to your door. It depends on what you're looking for. Now, my suggestion to anybody who actually wants to actually pick up beer is not go to a website. I mean, you can. Like, for example, Equilibrium Brewing will ship throughout the whole state of New York, but they'll also ship to the DC, District of Columbia. So there's a lot of breweries that like ship to specific areas. I would do that. What I would do is join your local Facebook group or Reddit thread or beer advocate group and chat it up with a lot of people in there. See what they're looking for. If they're looking for a specific beer that you can access that they can't, or even people, go to threads that don't exist in your area. Go to the thread, if you live in, let's say you live in Kentucky and you want other half, well, go to the New York board, and people will be like, I have a bunch of other half. I'm looking for something from Kentucky. And that's probably your best bet. Not just your best bet, but your best bang for your buck when it comes to getting beer, because it tends to be a little bit more personal, a little bit more civil and stuff like that. But let's put it this way. Just to actually get beer is not that hard. And it's probably a little bit easier to get what you want if you just put in a little bit of time and effort. And just, chat it up with people. Be like, hey, I'm looking for this. Some people are going to be a dick because there's some trolls on the internet and they just can't help themselves. But if you're looking for something specific, it's usually pretty easy to find it if you just kind of poke around enough. Let's put it that way. Stuart Caro says, when does Kane Picture in Reverse variants come out in New Jersey? I have no idea. You are asking the wrong guy. You think I would be in tune with that shit? Thinking I'd have my thumb and finger on the pulse of Jersey beer. I do not. I like beer. I drink beer. I'm actually the opposite of that stuff. And then I don't really follow like super kind of like, oh, this is releasing, that is releasing, only because I don't know, just can't be bothered. I'm old school. I'm a bit of a curmudgeon. So when it's like following beer and hyping releases and stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not pooping on it. I'm just saying it's not for me. So I really don't follow like, oh, this is releasing. I mean, there's certain stuff that releases that I'm like, I'd really like that, and I might kind of go online and buy one. But I'm not really that in tune. I don't know. That's probably a shitty thing to say for a guy that talks about beer, but it is what it is. Let's see. I'm gonna have to find a glass. I can't drink this anymore. Ugh, okay. Well, that one's down. That was a bummer. I think I have some stuff that might quench my thirst here, though. Speaking of Kane, let's go all Dirty Glass Mafia. Right, with a sneak box. Let's see how old the sneak box is, though. Hopefully, if it's less than 2 months old, I'm okay. That, you know what's funny about it? Oh, no. Okay. It's a month old. It's just a hair over a month old. But, yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Following up with one I know that does not suck. This is like that place that I order from. I mean, it might not be able to pick it up on camera, but there's this one has this kind of doo-doo water kind of look to it, and it's because of time, stuff like that. So anyway, let's see what's going on here. We have people actually just chiming in saying what's up, which would be Anthony. Anthony's awesome. He sent me some beer, sent me some homebrews. He sent me 2 homebrews in a can. He actually sent me, was it 1 homebrew? Then a bottle. I reviewed that, and he sent me 2 more homebrews in cans. They were bad. They're not bad. Like, the beer wasn't bad. They were super oxidized, and it's because Anthony just got a canner. I'm almost positive that's why it happened. So I'm probably not gonna post them, bud, because they were not they were so far oxidized. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the canner that you guys just got. So it's just getting in tune with the canner and stuff like that. So plus, I got them like the day I was leaving to go on vacation, so I spent 2 weeks between receiving them and drinking them. So anyway, Anthony's in the chat. What's going on, homie? Jason saying he's from West Tennessee. Isn't there a song about West Tennessee? Or am I just thinking about Arrested Development's Tennessee? I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Stuart bringing the heat with all kinds of questions. I love this shit. If you had to live next to one single brewery and only drink only what is produced by that brewery for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? I might pick the Vale in Richmond, Virginia. That's a good one. Honestly, Kane would be up there. And this is the thing. I wouldn't pick the Vale, personally, myself. Now, the reason why I wouldn't pick the Vale is because I'm not saying they don't do this, but I have not had enough variety from them. So, I've had stuff from the Vale, but it's been triple IPAs or crazy fruited things or super pastry stouts. Now, I'm sure they do stuff other than that, but that's been what I've had. Now, you take a brewery like Rushing Duck that I was talking about previously out of Orange County, New York, Chester, New York. I've had fruity things. I've had super big old hazies. They made a 16% quadruple hazy IPA. They made all the stuff, pastry stouts, but then they make barrel-aged old ales, plain old ales, barley wines, Belgian doubles, Belgian quads, Belgian singles, and they make kolsches and pilsners and lagers, and then they make, brown ales, and they run the gamut of styles. That's the brewery I would want to be next to. So it almost eliminates a lot of breweries out there. Again, not that those breweries don't make them, and if I live right next to the place, maybe I would know more of what they made. But Kane would be up there, especially because now they have a sour program going, so I know I'd be able to get some sour beers. I'm gonna default just to Hill Farmstead because I'm a loser, I guess. I some of the best lager I've had from Hill. The best farmhouse table beer I've had from Hill. Some of the barrel aged beer I've had from Hill. And there's the added bonus of if you're standing on a deck of Hill Farmstead, it's like me standing in my back of my house, so I get to live in the middle of nowhere. There's other breweries that I'd be able to do that with too. Some might be in Europe. Some might be in California. I mean, Russian River comes to mind. Not that I've had a ton of big barrel-aged stuff from them, but I've had a lot of wine barrel-aged, some of the best beers of my life from them. So it come down to a couple select few. But it'd probably honestly be Hill Farmstead, to be honest with you. I think it's weird because I think a lot of it has to do with familiarity of a brewery, because there's probably a brewery out there just as good that I just don't even know about. Or a brewery like, for example, like I said, the Vale, like I don't know what their normal offerings are. They actually might have a decent amount of, lager, pilsner, brown ale, stuff like that I just haven't had or will never have because I just don't live right by the place. So it's one of those things where, I don't know. Hill Farmstead, why not? Anyway, Cameron Ford says, do you ever make your own radlers? I don't think I've ever made my own radler in my life. Have I had radlers? Yes, I've had radlers made for me. Yes. One of my favorite breweries that I go to, locally to me, it's about 45 minutes away. It's called Bond Place Brewing. I've done a bunch of their beers as far as reviews go. And, they make radlers there pretty much all year round. They actually do the traditional Berliner, and they actually do a traditional radler there. They'll make it for you. So that's a crusher summer drink that I dig so much. And, but I don't know if I've ever made one myself, to be honest with you. Oak Ridge says, giving away 3.5 cans of Tampa Bay Brewery Company Reef Donkey. How do you give away 3.5 cans? How do you do that? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's off the 10th. What's going on, brother? He says this stream looks gorgeous. It does it? Does it look good? I actually don't know. I mean, it's kind of like he might be joshing with me, but it doesn't look super great. And from my end, it would look way better if I use my. So I switch up my kind of setup here. I have a kind of nice microphone up here now. God damn, why is that getting loose like that? Anyway, I got a nice microphone going, and I'm using my iPhone actually as a webcam now, and it's way clearer. But I actually have this running into Google Meets, which is kind of like Google Hangouts. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, kind of like Zoom. But I had it running through that first, then back into my streaming program in case somebody wants to jump in for a live. That way they could just jump right in. So it would look even better if I didn't use that. So there you go. But thank you very much, brother. Ben Lunin wants me to say, tell the people how good Fox Farm is. I don't think you could tell people how good Fox Farm is. I think they need to experience it, because it's one of those things where it's like you could tell people like, oh, this brewery's fantastic. They make great beer, and people go, okay. I mean, I've told people how good Fox Farm is. They made top of my list. Some of my favorite beers done this last year. Every beer I've pretty much done from them has been utterly fantastic. So I am preaching the word of Fox Farm. But I think it falls a little bit on deaf ears because I think there's a little bit of indecision. I don't know what the word would be when it comes to people. Like, what would be? I'm trying to look in the camera. I keep looking at myself. I should look at the camera. Like people like they it's not that they don't believe what you say. It's more so that they're just like, okay, well, it's new, it's hyped, maybe it's not as good or whatever. So you can hype up a brewery as much as you want, but I don't think people really buy into it until they have it, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's kind of like pretty much every brewery. You know what I mean? Like you can sit here and kind of wax poetic as much as you'd like about how great a brewery is and how fantastical it is. And, there's nothing like it in the world, but until someone has it and go, oh, wait a minute, that's what it is, then you just don't know. I mean, let's put it this way, get a little personal. So I was married previously, many moons ago in my early 20s, and I got divorced when I was in my early 30s. And before I met my wife and after I met my ex-wife, before I met my ex-wife and after, I knew what love was. I knew it. I knew what it was. I knew what it was before I met her. I knew what it was when I met her, and I knew what it was after. And I dated quite a bit after. And then I met my current wife, and it totally, this is not just sappy shit I'm saying because my wife watched this, because believe me, there's no way in freaking hell she's ever watching this, is that she redefined what I understood as love. So it's one of those things where it's like I kind of felt bad for my ex-wife, and I kind of felt bad for other people or other people I dated, because when I said I love you, I now don't believe. I was being dishonest, because my definition of it changed, and I wasn't being dishonest on purpose. It's just like, oh shit, I was wrong. And that's kind of when you have breweries that are so good, whether it be Fox Farm or Hill Farmstead or Russian River or, Rochester, those kind of breweries. Until you have that kind of epiphany when it comes to certain beers and certain breweries, you might even not even know how good it is. So you tell somebody, oh, it's the best. Well, if somebody's definition of the best is Dogfish Head, not to pick on them, then they might not know even what you're talking about. Conversely, everybody's taste is different. So who is me to say that they're better than Dogfish Head? Someone who said, oh, I've had Fox Farm, I prefer 60 Minute. No, I could be like, I think you're a little bit kooky, but that doesn't make them wrong. Just makes that they don't like the same beers I do. So it's one of those things where people have to find it on their own. Find your love. Your true love in beer is what I'm trying to say. Let's see. What do we have going on here? Off the 10th again. Says, cheers, Matt. What's going on, dude? Duder. Frio7 says, that's what I love about Trillium. People just tend to go after their any IPAs and stouts, but they brew it all drinking a damn good Kolsch of theirs. Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite beers that come from Trillium are their smaller beers, whether it be, their Tiny Bird series probably was one of my favorite series ever from them. And some of their sour stuff is great. I love the pasty stuff. I love the big beers. I mean, actually, probably my favorite beer from them of all time was a double IPA. It was their dialed in Gewürztraminer juice. I reviewed that probably about 4 years ago. I love that beer. But some of their slower ABV, kind of under the radar stuff is what I really dig. But here's the thing, and this is where that kind of conversation about whether, living next door brewery, is it worth it? I don't know. From my perspective, Trillium did not produce those Kolsch's and those Pilsners and the lower ABV stuff up until a year or so ago. I don't remember any of that stuff hitting any kind of outside sourcing. So, did they just started making them? Obviously, JC made them before, you know what I mean? He worked at Weyerbacher, you know what I mean? He worked at small breweries, so it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, did he work at Weyerbacher? Am I fucking that up? I'm thinking of somebody else, I think. Anyway, and so it's one of those things. I don't know if they've been making them the whole time for people to drink, but I know they've obviously made them previously, so it is what it is. Stuart chimes in saying Hill Farms is awesome, and they do live up the excitement. I know what you mean about the Vale. A Brew Gentleman knocks my socks off locally, but their barrel age program is so small, but I love. I mean, it's not even a matter of size, too, at that point. It's a matter of it's good, because there's a lot of people that have barrel age programs that suck. So that just makes it more rare, which I'll let you in on a little secret. Rare beer doesn't taste any better than non-rare beer. Sometimes there's correlation that a rare beer happens to be delicious, but there's a lot of beer that's not rare that's delicious or just as delicious. So it is what it is. Hoffman chiming in saying, yeah, homie, what's going on, brother? Cameron Ford, do you know of any readily available table beers? Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you live, because that's like readily available. It's like, that's a hard one to define, because obviously if I'm going to be like, oh, go get yourself some La Trappe single, I don't even know if they make it anymore, but that might be decently available. But then you have like, okay, like, Side Projects table beer is fantastic, or Fox Farms table beer is fantastic, you know what I mean? But that's not readily available unless you live close to them. Once you step out of there, where are you going as far as singles? As far as I would classify it, Hardywood single is, when I'm talking table beers and Belgian singles, pretty much lump them together. The Hardywood single, pretty sure Omegang makes a single. I would bet my left testy that Schlafly or Boulevard makes a single, and I don't remember having it, but I would probably say it's pretty damn good. That's a hard one, man, because that's also one of those things where the beer just doesn't, it's not a beer that you'd let sit on a shelf for travel and stuff like that. So I know there's got to be, Allagash has to have a single, right? Yeah, they have hoppy table beer. I know that shit's fucking fantastic. And then they have their house beer, which would be considered a table beer. The table beers are like one of those weird ones where, like, I would probably try to find a relatively close brewery to you that just happens to dig on low ABV yeast forward jams and see what their table beer is all about. And because table beer for me, let's put it this way, table beer for me is not a 6-pack beer. Table beer for me is a 30-rack beer, or like a kegerator beer. You know what I mean? So it's not so much that I'd be looking for a 4-pack or a 6-pack of table beer. I want a sixtel of table beer, and that's what I want to chug on, because that's water. It's potable water, baby. Let's see what else we have going on. Cameron Ford actually asks, are German breweries the best in the world? subjective. I don't think they're the best in the world, but I don't think they're not the best in the world. Some of my favorite beer comes from German breweries. You give me, I'm probably going to mess up here and name like an Austrian brewery or something shit like that, but you're talking about, Weinstefaner and fucking like all the other breweries that I could possibly name. The ones you're thinking of, all the classic German breweries are fantastic. So are they the best in the world? I probably wouldn't say no, but it's not like I'm saying they're bad. They're absolutely fantastic. It depends on what you dig. If all you like is New England style hazies and pastry stout, then you probably think German beer sucks. If you like drinking beer in copious amounts and hanging with your friends, you probably like German beer. So it's a very subjective thing. Hoffman saying we need to get you some Australian and New Zealand. Oh, I know. See, Hoffman. See, you come in on this account instead of your other one, so I forget who you are every now and then. We need to get you some Australian, New Zealand, New School hazies, homie. I would love it. That shipping is a bitch. Huge fan of Other Half. Off the 10 chimes in saying, wish I lived closer to them. How far are you from fucking Rochester, dude? You're probably closer to Other Half than I am. Right? Don't you live by the falls? How long does it take to get from the falls to Rochester? What, 2 hours? Go to that shit, dude. I mean, not right now, obviously, but let's see. Trillium Beer is sold on site is so diverse and amazing. Not just the IPAs, yeah. And that's the thing when you ask the question about, the brewery you'd like to live next to. It's a much different question than when you don't live next to that brewery and you don't know how their kind of regular offerings kind of hash out. So Ben Lunan chiming in saying top 3 breweries on your bucket list to visit. Oh fuck, dude. Good God. Oh my God. What am I gonna say here? Top 3. It's hard. You know what's hard about this is naming only 3. 3 bucket list breweries. I gotta put a Trappist one on there, man. It's got to be one of the Trappist breweries. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a tough one. Just even to whittle that down. Man, from the Trappist breweries, it's gonna be a mix between. You know what? Fuck it. La Trappe. I was gonna say because it's hard. I was gonna be like it's hard for me because, you want to go to West Wiedelen. Because it's West Wiedelen, you want to have West Wiedelen 12. I've always wanted to have a red cap West Wiedelen. I'm sure I could snake one out of those. That's like one of my holy grail beers is a red cap Westie. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, I could do that, or I can go to like my favorite overall knee-jerk tasting Belgian quad, which would probably be Rochefort. I'd be like, okay, but it'd have to be La Trappe, and for one reason only. It's because you get a bonkers fucking barrel aging program. So if I get to get in that basement and start pulling nails on a bunch of barrel aged shit, then daddy's gonna be fucking ripped. Let's see. Who else would be next? Bucket list brewery to visit. I've already been to Allagash. I kind of want to say Allagash, though. To be perfectly honest with you. Russian River. I would love to, and this is like, I would love to just sit in Russian River. Like, when you say visit, like, bucket list breweries, I mean, like scumbagging my way into, like, the barrel room and, like, pulling nails with Vinny and hanging out and doing whatever the fuck I want. Russian River is probably one of them. Because you could just, I mean, from, getting those IPAs to the funky stuff to the barrel aged stuff and just being out on the West Coast would be awesome. And then, I mean, someone said Cantillon. Does it have to be Cantillon? I mean, it's kind of gotta be, because I'm covering all my bases here, I think. Going for the Belgian Darks, then I'm going to the West Coast IPA and sour or kind of a wine barrel aged funk, and then I'm going to Lambic Land. I mean, it would be, honestly, let's do this one. I'll do the hipster one. This is so hipster. You guys don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Bachreiter Go over there and just hang out with those guys. And honestly, just be like, I'd like to go. You know where I'd like to go? I'd like to go to I'd like to go to the fucking Night of Great Thirst, which is supposed to be this past weekend. Let's put it that way, and just drink there. That would be my third one. We'd skip the brewery and just go there and just hang out and drink Lambic all day from 19 on the brew. So I'm cheating a little bit on that one, but I'm okay with it. Let's see. Caleb chiming in saying Cameron Ford looking for an Allagash Brewing River Trip for table beer. Yeah, I mean, River Trip's fantastic, but even their lower ABV stuff, the hop, not hoppy table beer. What's the one? Tiny House. That shit is 3.5%, 3.4. All day with that shit. Lee, the king of beer tube, is here, everybody. It says, on the topic of table beers, they are becoming more of a thing here in Nova Scotia, being part of some breweries' core releases. And that's fucking fantastically. I mean, it is honestly, like, to find a table beer was kind of hard. Not only was it hard to find a table beer, it was hard to find a good one. Because, you know, the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about beer in general, it's hard to hide behind openness, you know, and you have like some of these breweries that make these beers, and you know, you have your big pastry stouts and your big IPAs, and it's just like you know, big on big on big, and you know, if there's diacetyl in there, or there's another off flavor, or acetaldehyde, it doesn't matter fucking half the time. It's so much hops and so much sweet and so much pastry, and you're not really going to get those flavors, off flavors, or as much. You know, when you're talking about a Belgian table beer, really, you're not fucking hiding behind much, if anything. Because even, like, if you get, like, a fucking Czech Pilsner, they can get kind of decently bittering. You know, some lagers can get bittering. You know, there can be aspects to, you know, flavor and stuff like that in these beers that can even help mask, even at a lower ABV. But Belgian table beers are about as delicate and as pretty of a beer that there is in the world. So when you not only find one, but find one that is made crisp, clean, well done, and still, you know, just a beautiful beer, it's a great thing. And the only way you make that shit is if you make them. You know, like one of the better table beers I've had was, whether it be Side Project or Fox Farm as of late, their table beers were fucking fantastic. But I can bet you all the money in the world their first table beer sucked fucking ass. You know what I mean? Or at least they weren't consistent from the get-go, for the lack of, you know, more appropriate response. And, you know, it takes time. It takes, you know, steel sharpens steel when it comes to that stuff. So you keep hammering at those beers and you make a good one, it's going to really show. So when you have a beer from a brewery and you see them making it, and you don't like their table beer, like, it's okay. It's almost like you should keep fucking buying it, because you're just, man, like, you want to encourage the brewery to just keep at it, man. Because that's what I want. Like, when I go to a brewery, if I walk into a brewery, I'm going to want to try a decent amount of stuff. I'm very much an anti-flight kind of guy. I get them all the time. I'm not going to say I'm not going to get them from time to time. But I really don't like getting flights of beer. I just don't find it as the kind of drinking experience I really want to have. But I'll do it. But let's say I walk into a place and they got a 3% table beer. I'm like, okay, give me a fucking pint of that and give me a flight of this. And then I'll just keep ripping pints of the table beer while I do a flight or two. You know what I mean? Because that's what I want to do. When I go to a place, I got an itchy nose. Sorry, it looks like I'm picking my nose. When I go to a place, I want to drink beer. I want to sit there. I want to drink. I just don't want to just sit here and taste and look and taste and look and taste and look. It's why I don't use Untapped, really. And I just want to go to a place and enjoy not just the beer, but the environment the place is built around. That's why some of the better breweries that I named about my favorite places in New York, like Other Half's cool in Brooklyn, but the place in Rochester is fantastic. Folks Beer in Brooklyn, I love that spot. You know, places like that, you know, like Upstate Brewing or Farmhouse Brewing, like I said, or, you know, Suarez, like, they're great spots to drink beer. And I think, you know, that goes a long way to kind of etching in your brain. Not that, you know, a good beer is not going to be shitty beer from the environment. You might not enjoy the beer in experience as much, but if you have a really good beer in a shitty environment, you're just going to be like, that's really good beer, but this place sucks. Conversely, you're not going to be like, this beer sucks, but this place is awesome, so this beer is awesome. It's not how it works. But, two positives together can be a little bit more emotionally attaching. So, having great table beer. Yeah. Fuck. Man, now I want table beer. I don't have any. I got Pilsner. I reviewed this right before I came on the air. The Trap Bohemian style lager. So that's about as close to a table beer as I'm getting today. I have a fucking Belgian single in my fridge. I'm going to drink one of those after we're done with this. Anyway, thanks for chiming in, Lee. Let's see. Cameron chiming in saying, I have been crushing Franz and Connor Weiss beer and can drink like 30. That's why I asked. I'm in North Jersey, by the way. What's going on, dude? Dude, Franz and Connor, like all those beers. You know what those beers are to me? They're beers that tell me I'm an asshole. That's what those beers are. Because I've had them a billion fucking times. And every time I fucking have them, I fucking love them. And then every single time I have them, I go, yeah, but I can get them all the time, so I'll wait. So, I'll pick up a Franz and Connor, Weinstefan, or fucking, I don't know why I'm blanking on it, even Pollner, you know what I mean? Fucking, all those great breweries, Schneider Weiss, Schneider Aventine, Schneider Weiss and Sons, those breweries, I don't have them, because I've had them multiple times in my life. And I know I love them, but then I go, I can get them whenever I want. They're always available to me, wherever I go. I can go wherever I want, and I can find those beers. So when I'm walking by them, I go, I'll try something else, because I could get that next time. But I never fucking get it next time. And then randomly I'll get it, just on a whim. I'm like, fuck it. And I'll drink it, and I go, why the fuck am I not drinking this more often? I get angry at myself. I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole because I'm like, God damn, you're picking up a $15 4-pack of Pilsner cans, and you're like, this is good. And then you have this fucking 4-pack of 16 milliliter bottles, fucking for $8 that just blow the titties off those other beers, and you're just like, yeah, I'm an asshole. I'm a douchebag for not buying it. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know why I don't. I'm a sadist. I don't know. Anyway, what else? Off the 10th, saying, I'm about an hour and 45 minutes away from other half Rochester. I do plan to visit soon. As soon as I am able. You are an hour 45 away from Rochester. You're an hour and 45 minutes away from other half, Mortalis, K2, Rochester, Genesee. Fucking Genesee, son. You're an hour and 45 minutes away from these breweries and you haven't been there. You're a disgrace, Chris. Disgrace to the name. You're not off the 10th. You're off the chat. No, anyway. No, you definitely, once all this shit clears out, you got to go down there. Dude, let me know. I'll try to fucking meet up with you, chug a beer in person for, and fucking hang out, because it's far for me, but I always need a reason to get up there. My buddy George, you see him doing the massive troll reviews every now and then. He gets up there quite often. And, I'm boys with the dudes from Mortalis and a bunch of guys up there. So I definitely have to spend a good weekend up there. So let's put it this way. You tell me next time you're up there, next time I'm up there, and next time I go up that area, I'm actually going to hang out for a day or two. I'm going to go up on a Thursday, come back on a Sunday. I'm going to roll like that. And I'll let you know. We'll come down and chug some beers. Let's see. Oak Ridge saying, Treehouse selling mix pack case of their beers with 24 cans. No two alike. I saw that, but I did see some people bitching and moaning that they were sneaking in old cans into those. Correct me if I'm wrong, Oak Ridge. And I believe I'm talking to the Oak Ridge that emailed me the other day, because I assume that you're using that in your thing. I think, isn't that a thing? I saw it in a Treehouse group on Facebook, that they were getting like old cans mixed in with their cans, which is kind of a bummer. And I'm not like again, I'm not like a date snob. Like, I'm cool, keep it cool. I'm good with months, 2, 3, 4 months. or 2, 3, but there's some people that really do kind of hang their hat on freshness. And I'm not going to sit here and kind of rail on those people hardcore. Listen, if you think a 3-week-old IPA is too old, then you're fucking retarded. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word. That's bad. You're messed up in the brain. But it's it's one of those things where there is an appropriate amount of time, especially for these new school kind of hazies. And if you get to like 3-4 months old, I don't have a problem with that person being a little bit poopy. And someone got like Oakwood saying the oldest can I have is Fudge, late February. Now Fudge, I assume, is a stout, so I have no problem with that. But I saw a couple of people said they got January or February snows, which I believe snow is like a 6 to 7% hazy. I could see someone just being a little bit kind of pissed off about that. I'm not going to agree with them. If I got one that was older, I'd be like, it is what it is. That might be like, well, you're getting what you're getting. Just be happy you're getting beer. But it's one of those things now. It's a really weird kind of dance around breweries and their dating on stuff. Like I've gotten the worst I got was when I was coming back. Actually, I might have been coming back from a Canadian thing. No, was it Canada? It was something. I was upstate New York. I was coming back from upstate New York, and I stopped at Galaxy Brewing in Binghamton, and ended up grabbing I think it was a 4-pack of IPA from them, something hoppy. And I got my car, drove home, and I get home, and I looked, and the cans were like 6 months old. I was like, how the fuck is a brewery give me a 6-month-old IPA? Like, again, not being a date guy, but that's a little bit excessive. And like, if I get it from a bottle shop, like I got this, can that's super old from like a bottle shop that they kind of put it in a case, and I didn't get to look at the dating. It sucks they did it, but it is what it is. But for a brewery to do it, it's a little poopy. Anyway, let's see. Ben Loonan is just retracting comments all over the place, buddy. I don't know what are you seeing? Horrible stuff or something? I don't know. Eric Gruber speaking of New Zealand beers, if you get a chance to have Lord of Atlantis from 8 Wired Brewing in America, it's an American barley wine, excellent beer. We actually get a decent amount of 8 Wired here in the States. They are they get distributed by Shelton Brothers. Shelton Brothers Brewing is one of the oldest importers of beer in the United States. They're the people that brought like Cantillon and a bunch of these older breweries back when no one would buy it. If you actually go into my podcast, I did 2 things with the Shelton Brothers. One, when I used to do my podcast as a radio show, it was a couple years ago, and the podcast is Beer Massive, beer and then MASSIF. You can go search for it, but if you just type in Beer Massive and then Shelton Brothers, it'll pop up. We did one with Joel and when I did the radio show. So that was about a 20-minute interview. And then I did a hour with Joel and Dan Shelton of Shelton Brothers this past October. And we talked about a lot of those things and a lot of their imports and where they get beer from. And they've been doing 8 Wired for quite some time. They sent me for the radio show. We did some 8 Wired live on the air. I forget what it was, but I had a couple of their beers and I've dug them. The only problem with us with 8 Wired here is it is expensive. I mean, is literally, not figuratively, literally traveling halfway across the world, the furthest distance it possibly could without kind of going the wrong direction. And so that definitely adds a bit on to its price point. So, but if I see one, I'll definitely pick it up. Be fun to do a review. It's been a while since I've had a New Zealand beer. It's so funny. You have so many New Zealand hops, but so little New Zealand beers. Let's see. Now here's one that's cool. Stuart actually chimes in saying one of the breweries that he'd like to visit on his bucket list would be the brewery out of California. The brewery, the Rue Brewery, the Patrick Rue Brewery. I would love to go there. I would love to go to the brewery, but I think I might die if I go there. Like literally die, because every beer that they make that I love is like a 19% old ale or barley wine or a stout with so much in it that I think I'd die. I just drink them all. I'm like, yeah, give me a gallon of Black Tuesday. I'll drink that. That'll be my starter, and then I would just die. So, I wouldn't even get to like the sour program. They'd be like, okay, let's go to the new facility, and be like, he's dead. So, as much as I'd love to go there, I kind of want to live. So, it is what it is. Ben chiming in. This he did not retract, and it's a very good one. Jester King. Jester King would be a great place to go. The only reason why I don't actually have Jester King on my list is because of the lack of diversity. Not that they don't do those beers. Again, I'm not super familiar with what they have regularly at the tap house, but I don't remember Jester King making a Belgian quad or that kind of stuff. Oh no, this wasn't the favorite breweries. This is actually taproom visits. Oh, yeah, they still might not make the list just because I'd have to go to like the Sen Valley, somewhere in the Sen Valley. It'd have to be there. It'd have to. Just the history alone would make me want to go there. I mean, listen, if someone said top 3 places you have to go and you have to keep it in the continental United States, I'd be like, yeah, just okay. Yeah. Let's see. Jason Patton chiming in. Matt, have you had any beer from Goodwood Brewing in Louisville, Kentucky? I don't think I've ever heard of Goodwood. I could be wrong, man. I forget a lot of shit. I could review one of their beers for all I know. But I actually don't remember. I've heard of Good Fire. That would be this brewery right here. Good Fire Brewing. Nice little logo down there. It's a little hop that looks like fire. Yeah. And then Goodwill Brewing. Godspeed Brewing. But yeah, I have never heard of Goodwood. I've had Goodwood. Sophomoric jokes. What are you going to do? Chris from Off the Tent says, you, Joe, and myself drinking all the beers, man. It would be fucking crazy, dude. Like, we wouldn't get thrown out. We wouldn't. But they'd want to throw us out. No, it's kind of like, it's very similar to the answer to the brewery. When I go to Rochester, so I'll let you guys have a little groundwork here, a little secret. So, like, one of my good friends, George, some of you met him in real life, people that watch the channel or like other beer tubers, but a lot of you guys have seen him, and like I every now and then I'll post a massive troll review where it's just my buddy George chugs a beer and trolls on shit. He's one of my best dudes, and he lived relatively close to where I lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania, but his wife Becky is from Rochester. So they go up there once, twice a week. Not right now with everything that's going on, but they go up there quite a bit. And so he's like super in tune with the Rochester-ish area of upstate New York. And that's actually how I got turned on to a lot of breweries up there. Obviously, other half I had previously because they're out of Brooklyn, but Mortalis was one of the big ones. Like I had more. He's like, I got this beer for you. You got to fucking try it. Blah, 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 blah. And he's super active. Unlike the groups up there and that kind of stuff. So just ancillary through him, I ended up becoming friends with a bunch of people from up there, a bunch of brewers from up there that I've yet to even meet. I mean, the Mortalis guys I've met, I've gone to the brewery and hung out and stuff like that. But to the point where I kind of know people, kind of like, I mean, similar to this. A lot of you guys out there I've never met in real life. I met, Lee. You know what I mean? I met a few of the beer tubing guys. I met some people on here in the comments in real life because you live locally, but we kind of know each other because we talk and we comment and all those kind of fun things. And that's kind of how it is up there. So it's like when we, Chris, go to the Rochester area, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad. And the way the brewery is bad. So yeah, drink. Yeah. What do they call? Hydrate. Very important you hydrate. Anyway, let's see. Oak Ridge, oldest kid heaven. Oh, fudge. We talked about that. And Ben Lunan said, have you made it to Forest in Maine yet? I've been to Forest in Maine. I've been to Forest, Maine about 5 or 6 times. I really enjoy it there. Honestly, let's put it this way. It is by far and away one of my favorite tap rooms to go to. Now, they have 2 tap rooms. And for those that don't know, Forest in Maine is a brewery. They're just outside of Philadelphia, but they're on the north edge of Philadelphia, really close door to the northeast extension of the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Basically, the PA Turnpike, it's, the road that goes through PA. Basically, if you're going to go from Scranton to Philly, or you're going to go from Harrisburg to Philly, you take the Turnpike. And they're right where, let's try to do this on camera. If you were to go from Scranton to Philly and Harrisburg to Philly, it's kind of like where both of those meet. Right above Philly, that's where Forest and Main is. They opened originally in a small house. They actually have really good food too, but they opened like their brewery in like a small house. I actually am still beyond flabbergasted in how they pull it off, but it is not like a house-ish kind of building that kind of, might look like an office complex, but it looks like, no, it's a house. It's a small house, and they opened a brewery in there, and pretty much everything they do, and they've gone away from that as of late, but almost everything they did in the past was like 5% cask ale. Like I think they have like 6 or 8 cask handles, or 5, somewhere, way more than most people have, and pretty much everything is on cask, hand pull cask, done. So it's a lot of English cask ale, but they take a lot of like influence from American breweries and hops and stuff like that, and put it into their cask ales and stuff like that. And it's proper. Like you go in there and be like, let me get a hand pull of an English mild with fucking citra or something crazy, but it works. And it's like, here's your 18 ounces, give me $4, please. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So it's the kind of place you just go to chug beer. So I love it. Their canned offerings probably don't do me all that proper. I've had a small sample size. I've had probably about, I want to see, less than 10, maybe closer to 5 different cans from them. And I'm not a big fan. I think there might have been 1, maybe 2 I enjoyed. Most of them were kind of meh, but there was one that was really, really just off-putting for me. But their bottled stuff is quite fantastic. They do a lot of mixed fermentation. So when you see their bottled stuff, it's usually a lot of like mixed ferm stuff. They did I reviewed a bunch of stuff. You type in Forest and Main on my channel, you'll see a bunch of stuff pop up. But the most recent one, the most recent one I did was that can. I didn't enjoy the most recent one. But shortly before that, I did, oh God, what was it? It was I think it was a dark Saison. Dark mixed culture Saison with fermentary form out of Philly, and that was absolutely fantastic. But they opened a new spot next to their old spot, so their old spot still exists, and it's the tap room in an old house that serves food. And then immediately right next door is an old concrete cinder block. Looked like it probably was like a auto garage at one time. They took that over and they made that in a cool little music venue, which is really pretty cool. So it's like it's most of the same beers are on draft there. Gets a little bit more hazy, a little bit more new school in there. But then they have a little stage off to the corner. It's a little bit more open environment for you to sit down and actually drink some beers. And they have a lot of bands that come through there. So when all the shit blows over and you're allowed to go sit at a bar and drink beer again, it's worth it if you haven't been. I don't know if you're asking me because you haven't been there yet, Ben, or you're thinking about going there, but it's probably, let's put it this way. If I go to Philly, I try to go there. Well, I used to try to go there. Now that I live in Jersey, I go in a complete opposite direction. So it's actually, I'd have to go like almost an hour round trip out of my way to go there. When I used to live up by Scranton, Pennsylvania, I had to pass it to go home. So I would go there all the time. But it's worth a visit. Let's put it this way. I always try to go there, even if I still live here in Jersey. Let's see. Michael Fermani says back to living next to a brewery. Fox Farm has to be up there. They do, but the only reason they're not up there for me is because I a small sample size. That's it. But honestly, I mean, my sample size isn't that small with them, because if you actually search my reviews for Fox Farm, you probably, I want to say you maybe get up to about 6 beers, but there's probably about 3, maybe 4 mystery beers that end up being Fox Farms. There's a black lager in there, I believe. There's a Doppelbock in there. I forget the exact ones because I forget which ones are mystery or not, but I did a bunch of mysteries. But that's the thing. I had a Schwarz beer from them. I have had a Doppelbock. I've had a bunch of great hazies. I've been big barrel aged beers. So they have a ton of stuff. I just heard weird shit come out of my headphones. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, let's see what else we have going on here. Jordan, what's going on, homie? Have you had a Tonewood Fuego review? Just picked up a sixer and it's already gone. Up there with Wrench is my favorite distro, any IPA. Yeah, I think I have a Fuego. I know I do. Did I fuck up and not post it? You know what it is? And this happens sometimes and I kind of feel bad about it. Is that my boy Anthony, who's in the chat too, sent me a bunch of Tonewood beers. And Yes, I do. It's from March 21st of this year, actually. He sent me a bunch of beers, and a good portion of them were Tonewoods. And what I typically do when I have it all the same brewery, I put them all up in the same day. Because it's weird to kind of spread them out over time, I think. I don't know. It's weird. Like, what is it? Sunday, I think I put up 9 beer reviews from the same brewery. It's just a weird quirk of mine. I'm like, if I go to post a beer review, I'm like, I'll post this brewery. I'm like, what other beers do I have if I have any? And every now and then, someone will send me just a crap ton of the same brewery, and that's what I did there. So sometimes people miss them because there's like 5 in one day, and they just don't see them all. But yeah, it's definitely in there, and it's a great distribution hazy. I think it's fantastic, and all the stuff I had from them, I think everything I really dug. So they're a cool brewery. They're a little bit outside of my comfort zone as far as just a road trip thing. I think they're kind of sort of in the middle of nowhere, and it's about a 2.5-3 hour drive for me. So it's like when I plan my trips, when I would go to breweries, I'd be like, okay, try to maximize stuff and like basically either do a loop or try to hit as many breweries in one trip. I think where Tonewood kind of lays out, I might be able to go to 2 breweries, reasonably go to 2 breweries on a 2.5-3 hour trip, and I think that's the reason why I haven't been there yet. But I dig what I've had from them. It's a shame because we don't really get their stuff up here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do right now while I'm on here? I bet you that we actually get their stuff now up here because of the whole COVID thing, and I didn't even think to search for them. Let me see if they're on here. If they are, I'm going to be pissed. Oh, no, you know what? I think I searched the other day. They are. They are on here. But it was... what is it? Actually, no, this one's a new one. So they're getting new stuff up in this bottle shop that's near me. Oh, this is going to kick me in the ass, right? Let me see what the ABV is on this beer. 6.5%. So 6.5% IPA from a monotone. I don't know which one it is. It just says monotone, 16 ounce. I know that's like the rotational hop series. So I dig on them. Next time I get stuff from this place, I'm gonna get some. Let's put it that way. I dig them. Let's see. When you go to Fox Farm, what else? This is Ben Lunan saying, when you go to Fox Farm, what else would you like to hit in striking distance? Well, let's put it this way, Ben. When I go to Fox Farm Brewing, my fucking mouse, man. I just bought a good mouse and I keep forgetting to bring it in here. When I go to Fox Farm Brewing, I'm not choosing where I'm going. I have a bunch of people who are going to tell me where I'm going, and that's going to be Steven and Max. Steven and Max, they're longtime viewers of the channel. They are longtime beer senders, like beer mail guys of the channel, and they live not super far away from Fox Farm Brewing. So what I'm probably going to do is acquiesce to them and let them tell me where the fuck I'm going, because I think that's a smart thing to do. But for the sake of the question, for the sake of conversation, I will input what I have here and see what comes up as far as breweries that I'd like to hit. Because as far as I remember... Okay, let's see. If I'm looking at here... Okay, what do we have here? So Fox Farm Brewing, it looks like the decent amount of places, nothing that are really kind of popping off that stuff that I remember or wanted to go to. New Belgium has a tap room up that way. That's weird. Beard Brewing would be a nice stop. I've heard of them. I've had some of their beers and they're pretty fun. Let's see. I've heard of Safe Harbor. I don't know. Are they good? You know where I really want to go? I'll tell you right now. Let's put it this way. If I had my choice, and if I had my choice to go anywhere, there's two breweries I've always wanted to hit that's up this area, and I don't even know if they're close. Let's see if they're close. I want to go to Two Roads, I'll tell you that much. I know that's kind of up that way. OEC. Let's see. How far from Fox Farm to OEC? That's far, though. Oh, yeah. That's on my way home, then. I'll go to OEC on the way home. Two Roads isn't far. I've always wanted to go to Two Roads. Actually, it is kind of far. It's an hour, so that's on my way home, too. Fuckers. And this is the big one. Let's see how far. This is going to be far away. I'm going to be pissed. Okay. Oh, that's super far away. Fuckers. You know where I really wanted to go? I always thought it was somewhere else. I'm weird, man. I always thought... Am I wrong here? For some reason, I really want to go to Notch Brewing. They just make like a ton of lagers and shit like that. I've always wanted to go there. For some reason, I thought that Notch was always in Rhode Island, but it's not. It's in Salem, Massachusetts. I know that. I don't know why. So, anyway, yeah, I would let Max and Steven tell me where I'm going. But there'd be a couple places I would want to hit out that way. But typically, what I do. For everybody out there, I don't know what you guys do when you go to a brewery or you go to a new area. Obviously, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to look and try to figure out different places I want to go to and see where I want to drink. The best thing you can do, though, is do the research so you have a game plan, a relative game plan, but don't stick to that game plan. Go to the brewery you really want to go to, chat it up with all locals. Be like, what's good around here? Where should I go? Because there's the places that you never would think of going or don't have enough pub or play and stuff like that. You're not going to know. You're just not going to know it. Those are the places that I want to go. The places that it's like, oh man, yeah, let's go there. I've never even heard of that place. Those are the places that usually have the best beers. That's kind of like what I do with a lot of people that want to send me beer. Like I have people, write me all the time. And be like, hey man, I want to send you some beer. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking awesome that you want to send me beer. And then he always go, what do you want? And I go, I have no idea, dude. And they're like, okay, well, these breweries are around here and these are the big ones. I'm like, you know what? Just send me whatever. I'm like, don't think you need to send me like the coolest brewery beer in your area. Like the place that you think makes like really good beer that just no one gets or a local favorite and stuff like that. Those are the things that I really want to drink. Those are the things I really want to experience. Not necessarily because I want to be like, I've had this beer and you haven't. It's more so there's so much good beer out there. You don't know where it is unless you talk to the local. So that's why I typically do that. Yeah, I mean, Mike Famani says he's talking about where I want to go. New Park. I've been to New Park twice now. And I really enjoy it there. Counterweight. I've had decent stuff from. I like them. And Five Churches. Max and Steven send me beer from up that way all the time. So I typically get some of those guys' beers and beer mill, and I really do enjoy them. So honestly, they'd probably be some of the places that I get beer, or some of the places we ended up hitting. Stuart chimes in saying, I've never been, and I'm not sure you would like it, but have you ever been to Fermentary Farm in Fishtown in Philly? They have been open. They have never been open when I'm in Philly. Fermentary Farm is one of my favorite breweries. Hands down. I did a podcast with Ethan Tripp from Fermentary Farm about 2.5 years ago. It's been that long? Holy shit. When did I do that? So, let's see. When did I do that? Did they actually tell me when? May 23rd, 2018. Okay, so almost 2 years ago. I did a podcast. You can go check it. Just type in fermentary form and then MASSIF, and you'll see it. And I sat down with Ethan. I just heard of them. I forget where I heard of them. Probably through friends or something. It wasn't like anything. I didn't have one of their beers. It's just someone mentioned them in passing in some weird way. And before I met my wife, and it was not during this time, but before I met my wife, I was dating a woman from Philly. I don't know if maybe we had mutual friends or something like that. I don't know what it was. Anyway, I ended up hearing about them, and I was really intrigued by their process. For those who don't know, Fishtown, Philly is a very popular area. That's where like Electric Factory and stuff is. There's a barcade there, which is an arcade, old school arcade joint that actually serves really good beer. And ended up putting them down there, but they do pretty much all wild mixed culture fermentation, and they do a lot of it in the old school Solera method. Old school Solera method, by that I mean is so there's a lot of breweries that actually make beer, and they'll take like their first anniversary beer, and they'll make sure that their first anniversary beer, part of it goes in their second, and then their third anniversary beer, they make sure part of that blend of 1 and 2 is in 3. And a lot of breweries ended up calling that a Solera method. And that is fine. I have no problem with that definition of Solera method. But the more traditional way of Solera method, it comes from wine. And it's basically, think of a pyramid of barrels, but they're all connected to each other through like tubing and whatnot. And then you basically, that gets whittled down, and then you fill it back up, and then the beer kind of moves around organically through all those barrels, ends up kind of creating this kind of ecosystem within and of itself. They do that with some of their beers. And it's a very, very, very small operation. Stuart was saying, it's never open when he's there because that's how they roll. Like, I mean, I've been there twice, and one time I went, just they happened to be open when I was in Philly, and then the other time was just like for the podcast. And he's like, okay, we're going to be open this day. And what they do is they basically have an Instagram, and then they say, hey, we're going to be open tomorrow from 6 to 8. Come on down. That's it. That's how you know they're open. Now, I believe during a certain period of time before all this COVID stuff happened, that they were open a set day a week, like a Saturday, and then they open one random day during the week. But that's pretty much all they do. They make, they're not a brewery. They're a blendery. Then by that, I mean they go to other breweries. They make wort. They take that wort, bring it back to their facility, and then pitch it with mixed culture yeast, and then get their beer from there. It's one of my favorite breweries around. I love what they make. Actually, it's like, if you want to see a cool reaction to their beer, blindly, you can go to, let's see here. Just type in on Google, type in Steal This Beer, and then type in my last name, which is Dapkins. If you type in that in, you'll give you my episode of Steal This Beer. Steal This Beer is a podcast with Augie Carton from Carton Brewing, John Hall from The Beer Edge. They do a podcast, and they interview predominantly like brewers, but also like bottle shop owners and people like me that just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And the shtick of the show is that they basically interview the guest, but the guest has to bring on 2 beers. They have to bring on 2 beers that both John and Augie drink blind. They actually have no idea what they're drinking, like to the point where they use black glasses and they can't see it. All that stuff. So I brought on, what did I bring on? I brought in a fucking Sam Adams triple bock. And I brought on a fermentary form. I think it was their formation. I think, which is their like what do they call that? The beer that everybody like their stable beer or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, and they went gaga over it. And ended up like I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks later they ended up interviewing Ethan and Same and on Steal This Beer because they're like, we need to get these people on the fucking show. He's like, this is delicious. So their beers are pretty fantastic. Let's see. We had Ben chiming in saying Rhode Island has a fun little scene. Tilted Barn, I believe. Proclamation, Long Live, Buttonwoods coming up. Yeah, I've had a decent portion of those kind of those breweries, and I've liked what I've had. Little miss, little hit. But Proclamation, we get actually a decent amount of their stuff in distro around our parts. Jonathan Brewster chiming in. Homebrew extraordinaire from down Florida way. You'll be seeing probably the next 3 weeks or so. Be a lot of no, maybe not. One of his beers are going to go up this Wednesday for Homebrew Wednesday, air quote Homebrew Wednesday for him, and then you'll see him over the next month on Homebrew Wednesday. Does awesome stuff down there in Florida. Broad Fjord says Cape May area is a wealth of riches. Slack Tide, Lindum Island, and Tuckahoe Brewing are my go-tos. I've always wanted to make it down there. It's just again one of those things where it's. Man, that's a haul. Like that would be like if I go to Cape May area, that's like a weekend trip for me because I'd travel down to Cape May area, spend a day maybe in Cape May, then take the ferry over to Rehoboth or something like that. So that's kind of a haul for me. Tom Slew says Notch makes awesome lagers. I've heard, man. I've had a little bit here and there, but I really just want to sit at the brewery and actually drink. Has anyone been to Yingling? That looks kind of rad. I've been to Yingling several times. My ex-wife actually lived in Tamaqua, which was about 20-30 minutes north of Pottsville, Pennsylvania, which is where Yingling is. So I've been there a couple times. It is what it is. I mean, the ownership's a little bit kooky, but let's put it this way. Their Hershey chocolate porter was pretty fucking good. I'm not gonna sit here and say I like Yingling and their politics, but that beer was pretty fucking good. Let's see. Tom's saying that Notch is a fun spot, even better. Michael chimes in saying actually you would like OEC in Oxford. They do all wild ales. I've had a bunch of OEC stuff. I have an OEC bottle right here. This is one of the better beers I've had. The funny part is actually isn't their beer. It is Schneider Aventinus Cuvée Angelique. But what they would do, I know more specifically back in the day they would do it, is they would take breweries' beers and re-barrel age them. I've had I believe Harvest Ales like that and stuff like that. So I've had a bunch of their beers. I just haven't made it by the brewery. I don't know why. And it kind of picks at my soul because every now and then they'll be like, hey, we have Courage Russian Imperial Stouts from 1985 for $5 a bottle today. Come on down. I'm like, motherfucker, now I got to drive all the way up there for. Yeah, I can't wait to go there because they also have a bunch of old beer. They're a distributor. OEC is the brewery and distributor is Be United. If you actually look at a lot of your European import bottles, you're going to see two names. There's going to be more than two names. It's forget three names are the big ones, I believe. It's the people whoever does Sam Smith's. I forget the name of the name of the import company. And there's Shelton Brothers, which I mentioned earlier. Then there's Be United. Same people will Be United on OEC. Tom Slew, everyone in Cali says that about Beechwood. Okay, I think he's in talking about when it comes to the firm stuff. Stuart saying thanks for the thoughts on Fermentia Form. My pleasure, dude. And Jonathan Brewster saying we have a similar blendery down here in Florida. Odd Breed Wild Ales. I've had a decent amount of Odd Breed stuff. It's been a while, but I forget who was sending it to me. Either my buddy Ralph, or Carson, or Jason. Carson is Scotch for Everyone on Instagram. He does a bunch of Scotch stuff, but he's getting crazy into home brewing. He sends me a bunch of stuff. I think it came from Ralph, or it came from Jason. It would be Corny Craft Beers on the old Instagrams. And then Manflesh Bogey chiming in, hey Matt, just dropped in to say g'day from the land of OZ. What's OZ? Oz? Land of Oz? I don't know what that means. Anyway, Green Bench looks really awesome as well. Yeah, Green Bench. Oh, I was confusing with Greenpoint out of Brooklyn, but I know Green Bench too. Anyway, we are an hour and a half in. I'm gonna cut it out because it is getting up there. We are at almost 8:30, and I want to play some video games and hang out. But this is fun. I chimed in. I put it out there for other people to join. No one else joined, but this actually ended up being a really nice kind of question and answer session for you guys to kind of throw some stuff at me and kind of talk about stuff. So I really appreciate everybody coming by and just saying hey. Throwing questions out, saying hi, and engaging. This is kind of the fun. So this is exactly what I wanted to do. I just get a little bit fearful because sometimes I don't think people are going to have enough words or questions for me to kind of keep going. I could probably keep doing this for another hour and be okay with the amount of questions and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a really good time. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy your night. Hopefully you're cracking a good beer. Hopefully you're, I don't know, going to any of these awesome beers and breweries and all that stuff that everybody listed now. But if you have any follow-up questions, put them in the comment section, not the chat. See you next time.